He arrived yesterday at 6 a.m. 24 hours later, Chrome stretched his legs over the course. He's been so dominant. We'll have key workouts for the Express Bet Sprint division, including the defending champion for Bob Baffert. And there's no Wise Dan, so what are the keys to the cup for the mile? We've got them for you as the pursuit is back on.
Skywalker is still there, carrying a huge upset looming here. And they're coming down to the finish, and it is pleasantly perfect.
Raven Pass and Frankie Dettori have won the classic.
Zenyatta, what a performance, one we'll never forget.
Brought to you by KITTEN, home of North America's first thoroughbred auction company. KITTEN, get in the game. And TwinSpires.com, the best online wagering experience in racing. Visit TwinSpires.com to sign up today. Very busy out at Santa Anita right now. We've got a ton of horses out on the track working, and as always, we will have them for you here on Pursuit. We are going to go live in just a second to show you Classic Contender VE Day out on the track for a second consecutive day. And Richie, there he is getting ready for Jimmy Jerkins, winner of the Travers Stakes, and now in Southern California.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's enjoying the Santa Anita surface as much as he enjoyed certainly Saratoga and Belmont. Just not getting over the ground as free as I've seen him in New York, but that could be from shipping. It could be a little bit stoved up, and you know, give him a day and see how he shakes out.
I was having a conversation with Steve Bick about 30 minutes ago on his radio program, and he said to me that one of the main reasons why this colt is here, not necessarily Jimmy Jerkins wanting to be here, but more on the ownership side of things.
Well, I guess that's possible. It just seems surprising to me because Jimmy's kind of a lot like his dad, very independent, always thinking about the horses first. And I'd be surprised if he'd be swayed just by the owner's say-so. Maybe he needed a little nudge and he wanted to give it a try anyway.
Well, we're talking about workouts. We're going to be showing you plenty of them over the next 60 minutes here on Pursuit. We go back to yesterday and what we saw from the workers yesterday, along with times not only here but over at Belmont Park and locations such as Keeneland. We saw Byron going 59-4, Untappable. Distaff, one of the Distaff favorites, she worked an easy half mile in 50-3. Daredevil, he worked at Belmont Park in 47-2, as did Carpe Diem. Much slower workout for Carpe Diem, 49 flat. Hootenanny at Keeneland, he worked 5 furlongs for the juvenile turf. Bobby's Kitten back at Belmont for Chad Brown, getting ready for the turf sprint down the hill, worked in 102-4. And Silentio, which we'll be showing you a little bit later on, worked in 1:04 as he prepares for a run down the hillside turf course in the turf sprint. As far as expected workers today at Santa Anita, a lot of them happening right now out on the course. Bronzo for the dirt mile. Brown Panther was out on the track earlier today for the turf. Danette, Flintshire, Indianapolis, Iatapa, Secret Circle, and we go live to Sweet Reason for Leah Giamatti as she's working here, Richie.
This is a really nice filly. Herbie Castillo's aboard here, former rider. She's had some issues. She had the ulcerated eye. She missed some training. They say the eye's fine. She's doing good. But you just wonder how many hiccups can you have taking on this kind of competition. I think she's getting over the track well enough here. Herbie's letting her run a little bit through the lane. But I just think everything has to go right to beat this level of competition.
Stretched her out in the cotillion last time. She was second behind Untappable. Prior to that, she was the winner of the test at Saratoga earlier in the meeting, and also winner of the Grade 1 Acorn. So we'll see how she responds to her run here at Santa Anita Park. She did run here last year, and she was only beaten 2 lengths in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
And I think they found what she really wants to do, which is be a one-run sprinter. And you may have noticed that huge cup on the outside. That's not an extension blinker. That's an isinglass cup to protect that eye that was injured in the cotillion. And by all word that I've gotten is the eye's fine. It's just she did miss some training.
KITTEN will have more on that cup that's being used a little bit later on in the news. Let's go now live to Don't Tell Sophia. Told you there's a lot of action out on the track. She was the winner of the Spinster, and she's preparing for a run in the Breeders' Cup Distaff.
And she was strong in the Spinster, and she's run some races all year that kind of pointed out that she could, if she stepped forward, had a little bit forward movement in the throttle, could be a contender in this division. And Obviously, her last race pointed in that direction. Her work was really good at Keeneland the other day under Joe Rocco, and she looks like she's enjoying Santa Anita here, just Scott. So
4 wins in 2014. She's won half of her races. She's a 6-year-old mare and is just shy of $1 million in her earnings. Don't Tell Sophia live out on the track. But time now for the Pursuit News Update brought to you by OCD Pellets. Go to ocdpellets.com for more information. And we welcome KITTEN Bradar back to Southern California. Luckily, you weren't on the plane that's kind of being sorted out right now in Kentucky, trying to get some of these Breeders' Cup horses out here to the west.
Well, Scott, my flight in was smooth, but not so for some of the New York horsemen, most notably Chad Brown and Bill Mott, whose horses are scheduled to arrive today from New York. The plane that they're on is currently stranded in Kentucky. Now, I spoke to Chad Brown. He said it's non-weather related issues. He remains hopeful at this point that the horses will get out sometime tonight, and if that's the case, then it won't interrupt any training schedules, but it certainly makes for some hassles for both Chad Brown and Bill Mott. Now, California Chrome got his first, most recent tour of Santa Anita early this morning before the light of dawn. Press conference coming up today at 9 with the Chromies, 9 Pacific. We'll update that tomorrow. And then back at Golden Gate, Shared Belief, who will take on California Chrome in the Classic, is scheduled to breeze, according to Jerry Hollendorfer, tomorrow at Golden Gate. He will breeze a half mile and then ship sometime later in the day. He thinks it won't be any issue at all. He'll join Piranda, Hollendorfer's other Breeders' Cup horse, one of 3, in fact, who breezed this morning. Now, you just saw Sweet Reason also breeze this morning, just a few moments ago, with that protective eyewear that Richie mentioned. Leah says she will not have to wear it for the Breeders' Cup, and all systems are go.
Well, she came out of the eye. She obviously got something hit her in the eye in the dirt or something, and she had a little ulcer that had to be treated pretty aggressively, which we did, and it's resolved itself. Everything's good now. Really, I'm very happy with how it is. She got cleared by the ophthalmologist at home. Everybody's on board saying she's good to go. No problems.
She does train with it's just protective, kind of a precaution?
Right, and that's more because of me. You know, the ophthalmologist at Cornell said it's not necessary. He said I don't have to run with it if I don't want to, but I thought just leading up to the race, I'm just going to do it just to make sure nothing gets in there and aggravates anything. Or it's just, I'm being overcautious.
Can't say that you blame her. Leah also mentioned that last year Sweet Reason wasn't the best workhorse in the world, but the light bulb has gone off, so expect a fairly sharp time with her workouts now leading up to the Breeders' Cup. Couple last-minute travel notes. Aidan O'Brien's horses are due in the last of the European contingent sometime this evening around 7 o'clock Pacific time. They should be arriving here at Santa Anita. And Lee Court, Josie Carroll's horse, who's aiming for the filly and mare sprint, did have some difficulties as well. We end where we started with travel notes. She actually threw a fit in Kentucky before getting on the plane. In fact, refused to get on. They called an audible and Vander here, and she is set to arrive any minute here at Santa Anita. We're going to take a short time out. When we come back, much more activity happening out on the racetrack, and we'll take a closer look at that Classic division when we return.
And he looks good. He seems like he's feeling good. I love the weight he's carrying. I thought he had lightened up through the year, and he's kind of come back around to himself. And you can kind of see what I'm talking about, Scott, when he jogs. He just kind of scuffles along. But when he goes fast, he sure gets pretty quick.
Something that we saw when he was at Churchill Downs, that was all the conversation going into the Kentucky Derby. He doesn't look good. He's not moving that way. We tapped into Zoe Cabin when we were back there, so that's how he goes. He works much better, and look what happened on the first Saturday in May. He rolled his competition, showing that he was the best 3-year-old at that time of the year. Now the question is he still, as we move to the championship portion of the season? Here's Candy Boy, also out bright. I shouldn't say bright and early, dark and early this morning for John Sadler as he gets ready for the Classic.
And you just got to feel like Candy Boy is a horse that almost needs to approach it like you're trying to get a check and then hope other people make mistakes and he can pick up on maybe their misfortune, because he just has never seemed to break through to that next level. Looks like he's feeling good. He does have some home court advantage, as does California Chrome, because he's probably run his best races here at Santa Anita.
Well, Candy Boy, a son of Candy Ride. So is Shared Belief. He's a gelding by Candy Ride. He is going to work tomorrow up at Golden Gate Fields and then ship down here to Santa Anita Park in order to get ready for the Breeders' Cup Classic. And as for horses by Candy Ride, Richie, he's been a very good stallion. He stands for quite a bit of money out in Kentucky, but his runners in the Breeders' Cup haven't done too much. The best finish from a Candy Ride offspring, Hazardous, in 2012 in the now defunct Juvenile Sprint, finishing 4th.
It's kind of surprising to me, honestly. You would think as accomplished a sire as he has become, he would have had more Breeders' Cup success. I got to think that's going to change at some point.
Let's go live, trackside. KITTEN Radar standing by with a special guest, Joe Talamo, who's getting keyed up for a big Breeders' Cup week.
You never know who you're going to run into, but you're likely to run into a few top jockeys. And Joe, we were just chatting about a number of your Breeders' Cup horses, but in particular, I want to talk about V.E. Day, who you're going to be aboard the first time in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And you mentioned you were just chatting with Jimmy Jerkins about him.
Yeah, I just got to meet Mr. Jerkins, and a very nice guy. We actually watched V.E. Day gallop. He's a tremendous horse, very big, gallop really nice, and I'm excited. I'm excited.
Now, obviously, it's nothing new to be riding a horse for the first time in a big race, but how do you approach a race like the Breeders' Cup Classic when you're on kind of an unknown quantity, at least from your perspective?
For me, it's mostly just like watching replays and just knowing his form real well. I know he didn't have that good of a trip last time in the Jockey Club Gold Cup with that horse going down. But I watched his Travers win, which is unbelievable. I mean, that was a great stretch duel, and it looks like he has a lot of stamina. And when he gets going, he seems like a freight train that last quarter. So hopefully, if he gets a good trip, he's definitely got a great shot in there.
A couple of horses you are familiar with that you'll be aboard as well. Obviously, racing in the mile. Tell me your thoughts going into that.
Oh, he's such a great horse. I've been so fortunate I think this is his 3rd Breeders' Cup he's going to run in. And one thing about him, every time he runs, he lays it down. He tries every single time. Hopefully, he can break sharp, and I mean, that's his thing to go to the lead. So hopefully, we get a good, comfortable lead with him. And when he gets out there, he starts taking breathers, and he's tough to pass.
I got to look at her on the track when she trained this morning. Best attribute for her going into the distaff?
Her too. She loves Santa Anita. If you look at her record, I don't think she's been worse than 3rd on the surface. And she trains here. This is her home court. And her too. I know she's training great. John Sadler and I were very, very high on her. And same thing. If she breaks well and gets in a great spot, she's got a great shot in there.
Finally, you'll be riding Home Run Kitten down the hill at Santa Anita, unlike any other experience, I think, at any race course in the world. What does it take to win when you're going down the hill like that?
Well, it's just such an interesting course, just because we're not used to that right-hand turn here in America. But when horses love it, they really take to it real well. And he's run down the hill twice, and he's won twice. So that's definitely a big attribute when you've crossed that dirt for the first time. And he's a fun horse to ride. I worked him out the other day, as you can see here, and he that last quarter mile is when he does his running. He can 22 at that last corner, and that's what it's going to take to win that race. If you can work out a good trip somewhere and come running that last part, you could definitely win it.
Is that as much fun for the riders as it is for the horses? When you watch it, it just looks like it would be a blast.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I've been fortunate to win the Breeders' Cup down the hill in '09, so I'm hoping to do it again.
When you look ahead to the Breeders' Cup in particular, we talk about home course advantages and home track advantages for horses. Is there something to be said for jockeys being based right here at Santa Anita that get to ride in the big classics?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it only took me 5 minutes to drive here from my house, so that definitely helps. And I mean, I think the most important thing is just the horses you ride, especially the ones that are based here. I mean, they're comfortable. They don't have to ship anywhere. And I mean, I guess it's like anything. When you wake up every morning in your own bed, you're going to feel a lot comfortable. I think it's the same for us too. You don't have to really change your schedule up too much as far as traveling and all. So, I mean, I feel pretty good. So hopefully we stay that way.
Right. Always great to talk to you. We wish you good luck and safe trips the rest of the way.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And guys, he has no jet lag to be said, but he's young. He could have recovered no matter where the cup was.
Young and having a lot of fun. Joe Talamo, and Richie's got something in common with you. He's got a Breeders' Cup win down the hillside turf course. That's his lone Breeders' Cup win. Came with California Clag when he steamrolled him down the hill.
And now he teams up with David Hoffmans, who I was fortunate enough to win the Breeders' Cup for. I think this horse looks tremendous training, Home Run Kitten we're speaking of. And the fact that he does have that experience down the hill is huge.
And he was riding VE Day for Jimmy Jerkins. Is there anything that he should approach any sort of approach he should take with a horse like this?
Well, I think he said the right thing already. He watched replays of the horse. He's not going to have a chance to get familiar with him, getting on him or anything like that. But watching replays of this horse, and one thing about VE Day, he seems to be a horse, the more you pedal, the more he finds. You have to ride him hard, and I think Joe picked that up watching the tapes and know that you have to set him down and put him into a hard drive.
Let's send you back trackside where we've got more horses out on the track. And Christina and Millie, Reina de Bateria, that's who we've got out on the course right now?
Yes, Scott, that's right. For the Juvenile Fillies turf from the Graham Motion Barn, Reina de Bateria, she's out on the track right now. Hasn't done a whole lot. She actually had a little blowout yesterday as I welcome in Millie Ball to help me discuss this filly. And Millie, she should be fit. She has a couple of route races under her belt, one at Saratoga, that victory in the Jessamine at Keeneland. So they don't have to do a whole lot with her at this point to prep for this race.
It looks like she's going to get a little bit of gate schooling. Being a 2-year-old filly, inexperienced coming out of the gate, she's only done it 3 times in her life. They'll just get her familiarized with the gate here at Santa Anita. But she won the Jessamine so easily. She came from 14 lengths off the pace, and she was geared down crossing the wire. The race comes up about 3 weeks later, Christina, so I think it's good to see that in the Jessamine she didn't have to work too hard. She just sprinted home the last quarter of a mile, and so I think that bodes well for her. That 38-2 blowout she had on Sunday, probably just keeping her mind on the job. They don't want her dropping back more than 14 lengths off the pace, but she seems to be handling the gate schooling really well here. I mean, standing in there very quietly. This is great to see this sort of preparation going on, because the gate break is so important in these big fields with these juveniles. They're inexperienced. They need to get the head start.
She seems to have a great mind on her. I mean, she's been here for a couple days. We had the little blowout yesterday, cool, calm, and collected the entire way around there. And then she has that sort of laid-back style in her races, dropping back, making the one big run. She was a length and a half ahead of Quality Rocks, who was 3 1/4 ahead of the rest of the field. So those two really separated themselves in the Jessamine. And since coming out here, really nothing you can knock with this filly at all. She should be fit for the Three Chimneys Farms. They stand her in the gate, they back her out, and she's just going to go around there with her head down, same way as she walked forward. No problems for Reina de Bateria today.
What a year it could be for Graham Motion at the Breeders' Cup. I mean, Main Sequence has such a good chance. He's in razor sharp form right now. Graham's done a wonderful job since getting this horse in this country. So between Reina de Bateria, Main Sequence, he has a Rusty Slipper, maybe an outsider, but it could be a very productive Breeders' Cup this year for Graham Motion.
Speaking of Main Sequence, we'll have that work for you a little bit later on the show today. Main Sequence worked at Fair Hill on Friday. We will show you that video courtesy of Anita Motion. We'll step aside for a quick timeout here on Pursuit of the Cup. When we come back, we look at the older fillies and mares in the distaff division. Stay tuned.
Brought to you by Fasig-Tipton, an all-time great place to buy all-time great racehorses. No one has a longer pedigree. And TwinSpires.com. Wager on the go with TwinSpires mobile smartphone app. TwinSpires.com, where players win.
Take a look at the Longines Distaff pre-entrance marquee race on the Friday evening card. Close hatches. Don't tell Sophia. We'll be getting a chance to see her a little bit later on in the week. Ayatapa, she was out very early this morning. Valiant Amelia, we've shown you her workout. Once again, if you've missed any of these workouts on horses this week, visit HRTV.com. They are doing a great job in posting all of the workouts that we have for Breeders' Cup 31. But Richie, we start with Ayatapa, the filly that Joe Talamo will be riding. He mentioned how much she loves the Santa Anita surface, and here she is out very early this morning.
Boy, it's dark as she comes out of the shadows there. I mean, she looks good. Obviously, she handles the surface well. I was talking with Joe about her. She's got some gait habits. He says she rocks in the gate. She's constantly moving, and that's why she doesn't always get off as clean as he'd like. When she won by 10 in the Vanity, he said she was rocking forward as the gates open, and she basically caught a flyer. That's one thing. You can school them in the morning, but the atmosphere in the afternoon is so much different. Some horses, it just doesn't matter.
Belle Gallanty, she's been here in Southern California in the past. but she's clearly not the same mare that Rudy Rodriguez has now. She was not good, to say the least, when she was out here with Doug O'Neill.
No, she's definitely a different filly now, but she's a different filly when she gets to dictate things pretty much get things her own way on the lead, and I can't see that happening under any circumstances here. There's a lot of other pace in here, and I just don't think she's going to get as comfortable a lead as she has in the past.
Dual Grade 1 winner, daughter of aftermarket, Beldame winner, Delaware Handicap winner, owned in part by Michael Dubb and Bethlehem Stables. Well, they've got a press conference later on this morning for California Chrome, but forget about that. We've got the man, a part of this team that's been so integral in getting California Chrome to all of his successes, and he is standing by right now with Kate and Bradar. That's Alan Sherman.
Yeah, we're just getting caught back up. It's been a few months that we've had a chance to see Alan in the spotlight, so to speak, with California Chrome, and he got his first look at the track this morning. You went out real early today. I know it was a little up in the air. Why did you decide to send him out when you did, and how did he do?
He did great. The reason we did that, just he likes to train early. We usually train him early every morning. Tomorrow we'll go out a little later. We'll go out at 6:30. He loves this place. You know, he got on the track and started screaming and nickering, and he's a happy boy right now.
Well, speaking of happy, you have to be happy with the way he looks physically and the way he's doing coming into the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I couldn't ask for anything more right now, the way this horse is training. He's just training like a monster, and I'm really looking forward to running him this Saturday.
Alan, compare him to the horse we saw at Belmont Stakes time after the rigors of the Triple Crown, and what you've seen in him, if any types of improvements, changes, maturity, anything else. Obviously, he had the talent, had everything enough to win those first two legs, but how is he different, if at all, right now?
He's gotten bigger and stronger. Those little vacation he had did him well. He come up a little empty on us and a bad trip in Pennsylvania. He needed the race. We had to get him started somewhere before this race, and it seemed like the logical spot. But since Pennsylvania, he's just been training out of his mind.
How much did that inside post position and the way the race set up early impact the outcome, do you feel?
I think it impacted it a lot. It was a rough race for him. He wasn't happy with it. I don't think any of us were real happy with it, but he's bounced back, and I couldn't ask for him to do any better.
We've seen kind of his lowest moments when he's been down on the inside. With that in mind, how important is the post position draw going to be this afternoon?
I think it's going to be important. Obviously, we don't want to be on the inside. I think if we can get 5 and out, that would be great.
Always a pleasure to talk to you. Great to see Chrome back at Santa Anita, and we wish you well the rest of the way. Look forward to hearing from you in just a few minutes in the press conference.
Thank you so much.
Guys.
And we look forward to that post position draw later on this evening, 7 o'clock Eastern time here on HRTV and HRTV.com. And Richie, talking about trips being stuck down on the inside at Parks in the Pennsylvania Derby. How does Victor Espinoza approach this and try not to overthink, trip and just try to ride his race and put his horse in the best position?
Well, I think he has to use California Chrome's tactical speed. He has always possessed enough speed, and usually he gets out of the gate in very good order. Go forward and make other guys have to work harder to outrun you, and that spreads the field out and gives you options. If you come out with too much of a preconceived notion looking to get in the clear, you're going too slow, and everybody's going to bunch up and keep you trapped in there.
We look forward to seeing where he'll land in the starting gate here later on this afternoon at Santa Anita. All right, when we come back on Pursuit of the Cup, we will have much more on the Euros that perhaps we'll see out on the race course, and Keys to the Cup, Tom's Tribute. How does he factor in to the Breeders' Cup Mile in 2014?
Homeward bound now, and obviously he's holding on. Down the centre, Tom's Tribute, Rock Me Baby trying to find a way through. Tom's Tribute's got obviously with 100 to run, and Tom's Tribute now drawing clear. Rock Me Baby late, but Tom's Tribute and Mike Smith have won the Del Mar Mile.
Welcome back to Pursuit. Time now for the keys to the Cup. The Pursuit of the Cup Breeders' Cup keys are presented by Pin Oak Stud. Go to pinoakstud.com for more information. Millie, we focus in on Tom's Tribute, maybe the up-and-comer in this division.
I think he has one of the best chances of the American horses in this mile division. Tom's Tribute, 6 starts in 2014. He won the Eddie Reed, a Grade 1 at Del Mar, came back to win the Del Mar Mile. An interesting side note, the breeder, Laura McKinley and Usha McKinley, they are sisters, and their father was a champion steeplechase jockey who operated a Stony Point horse farm in Kentucky, which Laura now takes over. But the sister was regarded as one of the top female alpine skiers in U.S. history. That's Tamara McKinney. So you've got some championship sportsmanship pedigree in Tom's Tribute. The breeders there related to the Olympic skier.
Looking to make his connections proud. Let's take a look at the pre-entries for the Breeders' Cup Mile division. And there are 6 Euros in the body of the field as far as the pre-entries go. That's not counting Fisalana, who does list first preference in the filly and mare turf. But Millie, based on the Euros, we might be one down in terms of the arrivals.
Yes, indeed. We did hear just from Adrian Beaumont this morning from IRB that the flight from Ireland with the Ballydoyle horses only on it did not have King's Barnes on the shipment there. So King's Barnes, who was the Racing Post Trophy winner back in 2012 at Doncaster for Aidan O'Brien, will not be participating in this year's Breeders' Cup Mile.
Time now to take a look at Tom's Tribute's work. The Pursuit of the Cup Breeders' Cup Works brought to you by Darby Dan Farm, devoted to the horse, dedicated to our clients. Go to darbydan.com for more information. So Tom's Tribute worked yesterday right here on the turf course. Millie, 5 furlongs in 1 minute and 4 with Mike Smith up.
And this is very much just a maintenance work. Mike has won with this horse 6 times in 7 races. He says the key is, whether he's close to the pace or far off the pace, get him switched off.
He's such an interesting horse, too. I mean, you go back to the Thunder Road, he equaled Wise Dan's course record with that 1:31.3 final time there. Let's go to the trainer, Jim Cassidy, on his progress.
Pretty much do what Mike asked him to do, and it was nice, solid work, good gallop out. He went a little slower than 1 minute, and so everything is, can't do anything yesterday that shouldn't have been done already, So, no, he's good to go. So I'm quite happy with him. I thought about Woodbine a little bit. I thought about the City of Hope, and then I kept saying, no. He's doing great. I see no reason. I mean, those 2 races at Del Mar were tough, So we're going in fresh, and he should be fit enough.
Millie, I like that he's a fresh horse because, as you say, he's had enough of a campaign so far this year. He's 3 for 6 overall, and he has that tactical speed to be right off of, obviously, and get the jump on the Euros.
And Cassidy said, he's a pretty easy horse to train. He just can get a little bit worked up in the morning and a little bit worked up occasionally in the afternoons back at the barn. And as Mike said, it doesn't matter. You can put this horse anywhere in the race, but when he's going to be effective, Christina, it's going to be when he's switched off early and then he has that great acceleration.
Luckily, they have quite a relationship. Mike Smith and Tom's Tribute make a good pair for this year's Breeders' Cup Mile. Let's move ahead to the Breeders' Cup Turf. Really interesting challenge series as well. The challenge races literally all over the world for the Breeders' Cup Turf. Here's a look at those pre-entered. You can see the challenge winners highlighted there with Big John B, Hardest Core. We've mentioned it, just the story that you want to root for this year. And of course, Main Sequence, who's a horse that, based on his resume, Millie, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. If some crazy long shot wins the Classic, he wins the Breeders' Cup Turf, you have a case for Horse of the Year here.
I agree with you. I mean, he's won 3 Grade 1s, and there aren't many horses that can boast that at this time of year. Main Sequence, what a tremendous job Graham Motion has done taking over this horse, whether it's the Lasix, whether it's the firm turf courses he's running on. It's just been a win-win-win situation. Here he is working with a stablemate. He's working with Under Control, who's on the inside, a Main Sequence on the outside. They ended up working 6 furlongs in 1:15 and 2 breezing. Under Control, he's a nice horse. He's earned $160,000. He's stakes placed. So that was just a good sort of lung opener, if you like, going around the track there.
And here's a look at main sequence yesterday. He has arrived here in Southern California. And Millie, what I noticed from not only the work with the rider standing so high in the irons and then this gallop, he just seems like a real laid-back horse. Nothing seems to bother him.
And you think of Magician last year and the way that he won this race. He was switched off and then he had that unbelievable turn of foot. And I think that's what it takes when you think of horses like Goldacova, you think of Magician, those horses that have that, they can switch off early and have that acceleration. He has those characteristics.
The only concern with main sequence, he is a bit quirky out of the gate, and obviously with Rajiv Mirage on the sidelines as he recuperates from injuries. Johnny Velasquez will take over on main sequence. He will have to adjust to that, and hopefully they get away from the gates cleanly and can take the race to the rest of the competition from there. But Graham Motion, what a season he has had, just coming off of that Keeneland training title, and he is solid in graded stakes so far this year. His statistics higher than just about anybody in the country. We'll step aside for another timeout here on Pursuit of the Cup. When we come back, we get back to the set with the guys. It's time for a little baby talk. We go to the juveniles and the juvenile fillies. We'll be right back.
Time for some baby talk, as Christina put it, in the Ascension Jet Juvenile, and we take a peek at the pre-entries. American PHAROAH at the top of this list, and he may be sitting there at the top of everyone's lists following the draw this afternoon here at Santa Anita Park. And Richie, we go back to yesterday's workout with American PHAROAH, as these works are brought to you by Darby Dan Farm, devoted to the horse, dedicated to our clients. Go to darbydan.com for more information, home of such stallions as Shackelford. And this is a horse that just continues to impress every single time he sets foot out on the race course.
He has impressed me from watching him gallop the first day I got here to this work, which I thought was sensational. He's just a big, serious horse. Doesn't look like a 2-year-old, acts like an older horse. And you'll see when was this Victor Espinoza? Who was on him here?
Not quite sure who was on him, but as we take a peek here, that's him down on the inside.
He's in front with his ears pricked, but he's going as easy as a horse can go. But you'll see when the rider allows him to stretch his legs through the lane, the way he leaves his workmate and his gallop out, this is a very, very exciting horse to watch. And I told you yesterday, maybe I'm a bit of a homer. I was all over Daredevil, all over Carpe Diem. Well, this horse is winning me over with every stride.
I think he's winning everybody over, and you can see it has some cotton in his ears.
He has cotton in his ears. I guess they want to try to keep the noise level down, keep him a little bit calmer. But he does everything right, and I don't know exactly the reason for the cotton, except that, man, he looks tremendous, and his stride is relentless. He never misses a beat. This is a really good horse.
Whatever works, use it. Cotton, whatever you want to put along with this horse, it's obviously working with the way that he's putting forth these moves on the course here at Santa Anita. As for horses that have won juveniles at Santa Anita, there's a bit of a home court advantage, Richie. Southern California based horses have really dominated. You go to Capote in 86, prepped in the Norfolk, now the front-runner stakes. Bracco, Action this day, Midshipman. Vale of York was a massive surprise for Godolphin with Ajtebi riding. He campaigned in Europe to get ready for this race. Shanghai Bobby, he was just an absolute freak, winner of the Champagne and then winner of the Juvenile. And then last year, New Year's Day, used the maiden allowance race at Del Mar to get ready for his win in the Santa Anita Breeders' Cup Juvenile taking place here at Santa Anita. So there is a definite trend when looking at races run in Southern California, juvenile races run in Southern California.
Well, I believe in the home court advantage. I think horses that have to just go from their stall to the paddock have a huge advantage, and particularly with young horses, they're not as seasoned, they haven't chipped around as much, maybe they don't acclimate as easily as older horses do. So I definitely think it's an advantage, and then to have a horse with this kind of talent, a huge advantage in itself.
So a huge advantage then as we take a look at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies for Angela Renee, and the fact that Todd decided to ship her out to Southern California early?
Yeah, I think so. And the fact that she wanted to stretch out. She ran well going short just because she's talented. She always wanted to stretch out, race over the track, been here. I think it helps a lot.
When we come back on Pursuits, we will talk Dirt Mile as well as look at the Filly and Mare Sprint.
Brought to you by KITTEN, an all-time great place to buy all-time great racehorses. Get in the game. And twinspires.com. your home for online wagering. Visit twinspires.com and join today for a $100 sign-up bonus.
We will get to that filly and mare sprint in just a little while. Welcome back to Pursuit. We focus now on the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Do note that as of yesterday, Capabastone withdrawn from consideration. He has been retired for the Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners. Bronzo, an interesting horse from Chile, winner of one of the challenge races. Of course, Golden Scent, certainly the standout in here. Millie, the defending champ, looks very, very tough coming back. And then we have a horse for Kelly Breen in Pants on Fire. Pants on Fire coming in off of victory at Charlestown. It was at a 7 furlong distance, but remember that's going 2 turns out there. Here's Pants on Fire just galloping here over the track at Santa Anita.
Pants on Fire has been around for a long time. He's 6 years old. He's run 28 times with 9 victories. Last year, he came into the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile off of 6 prior races that year. That was his 7th race, and he finished 7th. This year, a much lighter campaign. The Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile will be his 5th start of his 6-year-old year. So a lighter trained horse, lighter raced horse this year. His last race, actually, Christina, on numbers, was his best race to date. So he's coming in the right direction. But when you talked about horses like Golden Sense, like Bronzo, I think they're in another whole nother level.
Yeah, I think he's one of those horses, he's kind of in between, isn't he? He's not quite to the classic level as far as the dirt mile. You catch an easier group, but not really sure if he can compete against those horses. The last work that we have for him is October the 18th at Monmouth, and Kelly Breen saying that he gallops strong enough, they're actually not going to blow him out or work him again. So he'll just train into the race off of what you saw there, those strong gallops in the mornings. Guys, we'll send it back to you on set as we move ahead to the DraftKings filly and mare sprint.
As 7 furlongs the distance for this race, and Richie really has proven to be a key portion of handicapping this race. Horses that have won at the 7 furlongs distance have really run well in this race, and Artemis Agritera at the top of this list and the top of this group. Really, she's 2 for 2 at the 7/8 distance. Same with Leah Court. She's won 3 of 3 starts going 7 furlongs. But as for little Alexis, she's only run once going 7/8, and that was her 3rd place finish in the test. And she worked absurdly fast yesterday here at Santa Anita Park.
Yeah, she worked really fast and continued on a long ways in her gallop out. She should have won the test. She was unlucky. She got squeezed at the start, didn't have the greatest trip, was beaten a length for everything. Sweet Reason was very good that day, but an argument can be made anyway that little Alexis was best that day, and she showed that she likes Santa Anita.
Living the life, she has won at 7 furlongs. The only question with her is how is she going to take to dirt? She's run on synthetic overseas, and since showing up here in the United States, she's won 2 starts, but that came over the poly at Del Mar and the all-weather surface at Presque Isle Downs in the Masters.
I love this work. I mean, I just thought this was orchestrated beautifully. She was in behind the pacemaker in the work, edged up in behind her, eased out as they turned for home. Now, she didn't get a lot of dirt in her face. She got most of it in her chest because she was up close enough to the kickback where it really wasn't coming back into the dirt. But you got to like everything you see from this work. I mean, and she's certainly seasoned enough with 21 starts.
Living the life, a daughter of Footsteps in the Sand, trained by Gary Mandela, getting ready for the DraftKings Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint. We're closing in on top of the hour, so just a few more minutes left here on this Monday edition of Pursuit. And when we come back, we'll talk about the sprinters. A lot of activity as far as workouts from that division, and we'll also visit once again the Breeders' Cup Social Circle.
Well, fresh off the renovation break from training here at Santa Anita, we look to the social media as Graham Motion, who's always active, is celebrating the 10th anniversary of his first Breeders' Cup appearance and his first win with Better Talk. Now you can read all about it in HRTV. Karen Johnson's one-on-one interview. A lot of links on social network as well in that one. He has 3 chances this year with Rusty Slipper among them and Aaron Grider shouting out that picture as we take a look at the tweets. Graham Motion with the article on TRC commentary, and of course Rusty Slipper breezing yesterday, and Aaron Grider all abuzz about that particular workout. Tweeted out a photograph of the filly as well that we'll see in just a minute. Graham Motion is usually the first to do it as well. And horsemen are supporting Thoroughbred Aftercare Retirement, New Vocations thanking Treadway Racing, who will be represented by Wonder Gal and Sweet Reason for their support. Now, you saw that DRF Grenig post about the travel problems. Mark Hennig was the very first in New York to report about it, tweeted this before anyone could have anything else on any form of social media. You have to get up pretty early in the morning to beat out Mark Hennig, and I don't know about you, Scott, he's a heck of a horseman, but I think he has a job as a reporter. We should put him on the payroll.
Between Hennig and Graham Motion, I would take those two guys as far as reporting on Twitter. They are machines when it comes to tweeting. And also just got, staying with the social circle, just got an email from America's Best Racing. There is a Funny or Die video with Kenny Mayne on Breeders' Cup handicapping tips, which I'm sure is going to be hysterical because Kenny Mayne typically is just that and very dry. So looking forward to seeing that once we get here off the set. But let's talk about the Express Bet Breeders' Cup Sprint, and the defending champion did work out this morning for trainer Bob Baffert, as did his stablemate Indianapolis. We'll be getting to that in just a moment, but we are going to start with going back to yesterday with a workout from a horse by the name of Seeking the Sheriff for trainer Ron Ellis. As you see, these horses now showing you not part of this field, at least at this point in time. But Seeking the Sheriff, he's yet to win a race here in 2014 against Stakes Company, I should say. Did win his first start for Papa Padrome. I'm actually looking at the wrong horse, but anyways, Seeking the Sheriff gets the time of 47-2 from this workout yesterday, Richie.
Yeah, and he's a horse that, I mean, is going to have to step his game up. He was only beaten 2 lengths in the Bing Crosby. That was at Del Mar, which was still synthetic, but he's probably the best race he's ever run was back in May here at Santa Anita. So, you know, hopefully if that can translate and he can push the throttle forward a little bit, he can have something to say about it.
Clean myself up. 5 wins in 2014. He's 6 of 7 at Santa Anita. Here's Secret Circle, 47 flat, as he's got Martin Garcia in the saddle.
And we talked about this yesterday. Bob Baffert is so good at pointing these horses for a big race and getting them ready. His last race was terrific off the layoff. I thought beating a length and 3/4 and, you know, with a good field, Golden Sense and Rich Tapestry. He's getting over the ground well here. And you got to think he's going to be ready for a defense of his title.
And Indianapolis also working this morning for trainer Bob Baffert. Mike Smith in the saddle of this colt. You want to touch quicker than Secret Circle. 46 flat the time, as he's the horse coming from just off of his workmate.
Yeah, and he had company, so he was going to be a little more focused. I mean, this horse is undefeated. He worked extremely well. One thing that's a little bit unsettling to me is he makes noise. I mean, he definitely makes some noise from his throat, and I guess it hasn't inhibited him because he runs fast, but and he's undefeated, but it always makes me concerned, especially when you're talking about this level of competition.
Well, that's one thing that Bob Baffert always referenced when talking about Midnight Loot. He always thought that horse could be a classic type of horse, handicap horse, but he had the breathing problems, so that's why they had to keep him at the sprint distances, and all he ended up doing is winning 2 Breeders' Cup sprints.
And it makes sense, too. This horse has more of a pedigree to go long, but maybe that's what inhibited him from stretching out.
Palace, he worked out this morning, his time 46-2 as he gets ready for the sprint.
And he looked a lot more comfortable today than he did yesterday, and maybe another horse looks better going fast. You could still see coming off the quarter, he's wiggling his ears. He's kind of looking at everything, probably said hello to a few people at Clocker's Corner, but he certainly looked much better today getting over the track, and you can never count Palace out. He's the blue-collar horse. He brings his lunch pail, and he goes to work.
Dual Grade 1 winner at Saratoga, won the Vanderbilt, followed that up with a win in the Forego. A little disappointing, though, in the Grade 1 Vosburg, which was taken by Private Zone, as he backed up his win in 2013 with another Vosburg victory at Belmont Park. He worked a very easy 49-2.
Yeah, Private Zone can be a little quirky. Martin Pedrosa knows him so well, and he's a horse that needs company because if you go back, you can even see it on YouTube, some of his races in Panama. He basically turned around and let the whole field pass him, and then, I got to take off, and he went and caught them again. He can't make those kind of mistakes in good company, but his Vosburg was strong. He got a perfect trip. Martin Pedrosa's been riding great. You know, think about the injury he came back from. Give him a lot of credit. You can see kind of took him wide here, trying to keep that company with him because he was getting ready to blow by him, and this was obviously just as easy as could be for him.
Yeah, we know he is a heck of a lot faster than what he did this morning, and you talked about that race down in South America. That was the race in which Renee Douglas saw it and said, I've got to have that horse, because he ends up winning, and that's how Renee acquired Private Zone, and he's turned out to be one of the top sprinters in North America, and we look forward to seeing Renee back out here in Southern California, hearing that he's catching a flight actually out with Carlo Vaccarese's son, so they'll be traveling together to come out to Breeders' Cup 31. Let's turn our attention to the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint Grade 1 event. How key is post positions going to be drawing this race this afternoon?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be all the way drawn outside, which is essentially inside into the first right-handed bend, or all the way to the inside, which would be on the outside. At some place in the middle would suit me. Between 10 and, let's say, 5, I think would be ideal.
And we show you this field. Yesterday we're talking about Fast Anna and the workout with Gary Stevens, all feeling that he would end up with the mount. Well, Gary Stevens telling us this morning he's riding Bakken. So Gary will ride in the sprint. He'll be riding Bakken. That's looking at the Express Bet Sprint. Here we take a look at a workout yesterday from Silentio as Gary Mandela is opting to go ahead and try this horse down the hillside turf course.
Now, I love this angle. I love horses turning back down the hill. I think they finish very strong. Silentio's run against very, very good horses. So you got to think the turn back and maybe the little bit of relief in company is going to be a big help.
Only beaten a length and a half in the Breeders' Cup Mile last year behind two-time Horse of the Year Wise Dan. Here's Gary Mandela on Silentio for the Turf Sprint.
I haven't done that much different, maybe a little bit backing off of some of the longer gallops that we used to do, pointing him to the mile races to keep his mind a little bit settled, allow him to be just a little bit sharper going in. That's how we had him for the Pat O'Brien, and I thought he ran very well against two very good horses in Golden Sense and Fed Biz. So yeah, I feel like I'm just bringing him into the race the same as I did there, other than it's a turf race and I'm working him on the grass for it. And I feel like if he can trade punches with them, he can trade punches with anybody in the turf sprint.
He's got the living the life hat on, though. You okay with that and getting ready for Silentio?
I think he switches back and forth.
Yeah.
I got one set he had one hat, next set he had another.
It's like a NASCAR driver when they win a race, all the different sponsors that they have to throw on. We're done. We'll see you for the draw this afternoon here on HRTV.